So you've spent your career, mainly as a writer, and the film marks it's your directorial debut alongside Brad Burrow. Is that his name?
Peru.
Peru.
Yes.
I'm rubbish at pronouncing names. Why was you obviously wrote the story as well. Why was it the right time for you to make that move with this film?
Well, Brad and I had worked together on his previous movie, Dead Night, and AJ and Sophie were both in that. And I was the editor of that film. And we've worked together for a long time, doing a lot of behind the scenes stuff for Marvel and Disney and Star Wars and stuff. And we've kind of wanted to collaborate on directing something together. And after Dead Night, we discussed just coming up with a small kind of scrappy project that we could do with both AJ and Sophie. And I personally, before the pandemic, would take a lot of ride shares. And so that was always kind of in the back of my mind. And so when we were trying to come up with a concept, I thought that would be like a pretty good setup for the two of them. It'd be pretty self-contained, and it was something we could finance ourselves. And so Brad and I kind of broke the story together, and I went off and wrote the script, and AJ and Sophie really dug it and signed on to it. And that was kind of how it all sort of coalesced together.
Okay, so it wasn't a story that you had waiting in your bank for a while to do.
No, it was written specifically for both of them, with both of them in mind. And AJ has said before that the character is pretty close to who he is in real life. And of course, Sophie's character is like the antithesis of who she really is. Thankfully, that would be horrible if she was really like that.
Yeah, I mean, for the character of Charlotte, she seems to have zero empathy or any guilt for her self-serving actions, basically. Why did you write her character in this kind of way instead of obviously doing good? Well, obviously it wouldn't have made a good film if she was doing just good things. But why to that extent?
I wanted her to be I mean, obviously I don't want to ruin the twist of the film, but I wanted her to have been affected by all the experiences that she's had, and to have a real kind of blasé attitude about life, because so many things don't really have consequences for her. And I think that, that's kind of one of the themes that we wanted to explore in the film is people getting to a certain point where they feel like their actions don't have consequences, and they're able to kind of act however they want. And this feeling, Russell sort of thinks that he's above that, but then when given the opportunity, he's sort of faced with the reality of, well, maybe I'm not above that. And sort of the whole thing about absolute power corrupts absolutely, or whatever. That was something that I really wanted to kind of explore with her character. And also I sort of would put myself in situations in the film and then think, well, what is like the opposite of what I would do or how I would react? And that was kind of like my North Star in her behavior.
Yeah. Also, it's the twist, obviously, I never saw that coming, and I usually see these things coming a mile away. Did your work with, obviously, in the Marvel and the Mandalorian docuseries, did those kind of like influence that kind of twist at all?
Well, it's funny, when Brad and I were kind of brainstorming and breaking the story down, we initially just started writing it, we're just structuring it from the beginning, and with the box and the MacGuffin and everything. And so then we got to the point of like, well, what's in the box? And Brad threw out the suggestion, which we ended up going with. And my initial reaction was like, that's a terrible idea. But then I kind of thought about it for a moment. I was like, no, actually, that's a really good idea. And I honestly can't say why that came to Brad's mind. He's a pretty strange guy. So, I don't know. It was just kind of like the first thing that came to his mind. And it just seemed like a really, like you said, super unexpected. I mean, it hit me by surprise. And so my first reaction was just like, no way. But then, it just has so many possibilities. And so then we went and kind of backwards engineered the structure and the story to accommodate that.
And also you've got obviously the casting of Sophie and AJ, as you mentioned. You obviously you filmed this at night and mostly in a car as well. I mean, what are the logistics of like filming that? It couldn't have been easy.
No, it was pretty difficult. Some of the stuff we did with rear projection. So we were on a stage for like the first 3 days, and we actually, like even up to a year before, did some test trials of how to do that effectively in Brad's driveway and garage. We just kind of set up a drapery thing just so we could figure out how we could do it quickly and you know, convincingly. And then the stuff where we actually were driving, we were really lucky because AJ has had to drive and act in plenty of films before doing this one, and so he's quite a natural at it. And you know, when you think about it, it's got to be super difficult to be driving, to be remembering your lines, to be acting and reacting with the other actor, and then to know where the camera is and everything. And so we really lucked out that he was so skilled at that. But we had, you know, this contraption that, because Brad shot the film, it kept growing and growing and growing of the camera mount for the car, where, you know, it was, he would get one thing and it would seem to be a little shaky. And then the next time we would shoot, there'd be another thing. So there's like all these magnets and suction things and bungee cords and everything. And it ended up being just this giant rig attached to the car. But there were some, you know, some days where it was just Sophie and AJ and Brad and I and a Zoom recorder and the cup holder getting their audio. You know, it's just, we kind of ran the gamut of every kind of way to shoot in a car possible.
And after this experience as a director, has it given you a thirst to do more, especially in director's chair, with your own stories?
Oh yes, absolutely. You know, one of the sort of biggest bummers about all of this is just that, you know, the film has come out during the pandemic, and, you know, sort of ramping up to do a new production, worrying about all the safety protocols and the extra costs and this and that, you know, really complicates starting something new, especially something really small like what we've just done. Yeah, Brad and I definitely have been licking our chops trying to think of something new to do, and we really want to get back out there and do something else. I mean, it was such a blast to shoot it, and you know, going through some of these film festivals, especially lately, you know, Grimfest and Fright Fest and everything, the response has been really great. And so we really just want to get back out there again.
Yeah, and definitely as well, because like I said before, you hardly get a very surprise twist ending, and we need more of that. I need more of that personally. Lastly, considering, you know, you've written and edited a number of, you know, the Marvel Assembled and the Mandalorian docuseries episodes, would you consider taking on a director's role, see, within that universe, within those universes, if it was to come up?
Oh, absolutely. You know, it's funny because, I mean, I watched Star Wars as a kid growing up, but I wasn't really that into comic books or anything like that. So working on these projects, and I sort of was initially pretty ambivalent about it. It was just kind of another job. But I've been doing the Marvel stuff since Iron Man 2. And so I just have just so much Marvel knowledge in my brain. It just like takes up so much real estate, you know, that working on any of those things would be absolutely incredible.
Yeah, I think you'd probably be perfect considering the amount of things you've probably got in there now. Well, thank you very much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.